Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a good time in our Common Baltic course in Denmark. I would have loved to be there in person, but unfortunately, life happens and I couldn't join you offline. But I will be presenting two topics in this course. One is about Harbour Porpoise and the other is about pressures in the marine environment. So I will start with Harbour Porpoise and you will probably see me in another recording in these following days. So in the Baltic Sea, we have four strictly marine mammals. One is the great seal, another is the Baltic ring seal and the harbor seal. And these are vulnerable or least concerned species. The gray seal, even though is designated or recognized as a least concern, they are still in a poor environmental status in the Baltic Sea. But today I wanted to talk about the Harbour porpoise and our unique whale. So why is the Harbour porpoise unique? Because in fact, it's the only whale that exists in the Baltic Sea. And unfortunately, it's critically endangered according to the IUCN Red List. And this year was included as well in the Appendix 1 of the Convention of Migratory Species as a species in high risk of extinction. I wanted to explain a bit the differences because it's really easy to confuse it with a dolphin. And they are not dolphins, they are both cetaceans, the Harbour porpoise and dolphins. But let's say they are cousins and they have some similarities, but also some differences. So generally, the Harbour porpoises are smaller and they are a bit more robust. They have a robust body, while dolphins have a more elongated body. And Harbour porpoises, if you see, maybe I can put my pointer. If you see the beak, they have a bit of a rounder mouth, and the beak is not pronounced, while in dolphins, they are a bit more elongated as well. And the fins are also different. So these are more triangular fins, while these are more curved and pointy fins. And if we go a bit more in details into the anatomy, we can see as well that their teeth are not the same. So dolphins have a bit more as well pointy teeth, and Harbour porpoises have cone-shaped teeth. So anatomically, they have some differences and they also behave differently. So Harbour porpoises have more of a shy behavior. They usually are in smaller groups and they are more solitary, while dolphins have a bit more of acrobatic behavior and they usually are found in larger groups. So it's very easy to point or to see a dolphin, while it's quite hard to see a porpoise in the wild. And if we continue a bit on the anatomy and physiology, they are usually very small. They are around 150 to 170 centimeters and weigh approximately 60 kilograms. They usually are found or like cold waters, and they have a very high metabolic rate, which means they need to be feeding constantly to not starve to death. They also, as good mammals, they breathe in the surface and they use to find their prey echolocation, which are high frequency clicks. So they use this kind of to measure the distance between them and their prey. And I can maybe show you a video about this. So they are very cute in wildlife. And they usually like to, or their usual prey are herring, sprat, and cod. And unfortunately, even though their normal lifespan is approximately 24 years, the females in the Baltic live only up to 3.7 years, and only 27% actually reach the reproductive stage. And if we talk about even considering males, they usually don't live more than 12 years. So yeah, it's really threatened species. When we look at their abundance and distribution, we have two genetically different populations. So one is the Baltic proper Harbour porpoise, and the other is the Baltic Sea Harbour porpoise. So if we look at the map, ideally, the Baltic proper Harbour porpoise should distribute in the whole Baltic Sea or most of the area. However, we only nowadays know that they distribute in this area where they have an important reproductive area, and also here where they can move and feed. And so it is estimated, at least in the last project that estimated abundance and distribution, that we only have less than 500 animals left. And for the Baltic Sea, which distribute more into the Kattegat and the Sound area, they are also being found in decline. So urgent actions are needed for actually both populations. And now this year, we have, or there's been another, or Samba 2 project, which is going to again assess the abundance and distribution of the Baltic proper Harbour porpoise to see, well, if the population has declined even further or if it has improved. So what are the main threats for the Harbour porpoise? Here is like an overview, but I will talk a bit more in detail about them. One is bycatch. We have also underwater noise, contaminants and pollutants, and also changes in the ecosystem. For bycatch, this is the unintended catch of non-target species, for example, in this case, Harbour porpoise in fishing nets. So even when Harbour porpoise are not the actual target for fisheries, they can, well, they are looking for prey, and they can be sometimes a bit, how do you say, they can look for the fish in the nets, so they can get trapped, unfortunately, in these ones. And these are usually static gears, such as gill nets. So bycatch is the main and most severe threat for Harbour porpoises that we know. And this is actually because one single dead Harbour porpoise, given the low numbers of the population, could be devastating for the whole population. So this threat needs to be reduced to zero. We also have underwater noise, which I will talk about more in a different day. But so far, we know that Harbour porpoises, if you can see in the image below, they have a quite wide range of hearing. So this overlaps with most of the sounds, for example, for shipping, fisheries, sonars, as well as seismic surveys, explosions, etc. So they can be disturbed by several activities at sea. And some of the effects can be masking, for example, when they want to communicate to other Harbour porpoises or to their calves. If there's another even stronger sound, then they can probably not hear each other very well. And since I said that they use echolocation to find their prey, if they cannot hear this, they also have a difficulty to find food in the environment. They can also have some behavioral disturbances where they can go away from the area. So this can lead to displacement and even habitat loss if they don't want to come back to those areas where the sound sources are happening. And they can even have anatomical and physiological damage for example, if there's an explosion, that their hearing could get permanently or temporarily damaged, as well as even the whole bodies. So if we can see in this map, these are in darker green, the areas where the noise, higher noise, is mapped. And this, if you remember the distribution that I mentioned, these are some of the areas that are most important for the harbor porpoises. So actually urgent actions need to happen in the Baltic Sea to reduce underwater noise sources, and not only for shipping activities, but also for more impulsive activities such as pile driving and explosions. We also have contaminants and pollutants. So if you have heard of polychlorinated biphenyls, these are known as PCBs, and they are very slow to degrade in the environment. So usually these chemicals are used in manufacturing processes, especially, for example, plasticizers, insulators, and fire retardants. And they can accumulate across species. So, for example, from the trophic chain, if we go to like zooplankton, etc., so they could accumulate through fish and then to apex predators such as the harbor porpoises. So this can lead to high concentration of pollutants in harbor porpoises, and it has been seen that this reduces their fertility and also increases their vulnerability to diseases. So it has actually been seen that the Baltic harbor porpoise is already exceeding the threshold of levels for these contaminants and pollutants. And of course, this is something that increases their threat and is hindering the recovery of their population. And last but not least, changes in the Baltic Sea ecosystem. So as I said, they rely on available food to survive almost all the time or constantly. So a collapse in the, for example, fish, cod or herring strat, this could lead for them to not find the prey and unfortunately starve to death. So changes into the abundance of other species can affect the survival of the harbor porpoise. Well, so what can we do to reduce threats? For the fishing or for the bycatch minimization, there are some alternatives which are called pingers, which are acoustic deterrent devices. And these are devices that can be added into the static nets, and they kind of alert harbor porpoises to not get close to these nets and therefore reduce bycatch. This is not yet established across the Baltic and not in all static nets. So there's some actions still to be done there because they should be placed in all the range of distribution of these species. For underwater noise, there should be more measures on ship traffic to reduce the noise of certain engines and also to reduce impulsive noises in core areas, for example, of reproduction or feeding for the harbor porpoise, as well as looking into new technologies that can actually reduce noise in the whole Baltic Sea. And last but not least, to designate and effectively manage already areas for the protection of the harbor porpoise. So even when there are areas designated for the harbor porpoise to protecting this species, there's sometimes actions that are still lacking in these areas. So what we do at CCB to work with this topic is mainly advocacy work and also awareness raising. We have developed joint recommendations on underwater noise, also contaminants and pollutants, as well as some alternatives for marine protected areas. There are other actions, for example, in social media, and we have a petition called Save the Baltic Porpoise. So far we have more than 140,000 signatures, and the petition is still open, so you can still sign it. I'm sure my colleagues in place will share the links with you. And we also have had some conferences to talk about underwater noise, for example, to raise awareness on Baltic talks. And we also had a campaign for rowing over the Atlantic with two fishermen that we had in CCB or as a collaboration. So they traveled across the Atlantic and tried to raise awareness about the Baltic Harbour Porpoise. And we also celebrate the International Day of the Baltic Harbour Porpoise, which is every third Sunday of May. So we have even included some activities with kids or youth to raise awareness and for them to know that this is a unique animal in the Baltic Sea that they should know, and they should also feel maybe they can do something about it. So as I said, we need to take more action. So what we can do as individuals is to share this information with your friends and family, because what we usually have encountered is that not a lot of people know that this whale exists in the Baltic. We also have social media where you can follow us and keep track of the social activities and show your support through the dedicated websites. You can also contact your politicians directly and ask them for implementing these actions to protect the Baltic porpoise. And if you can see, or if you ever spot a harbour porpoise at sea, you can also, or you need to report it to your national reporting hub. So here I added the table that we have on our website, and you can look at it to see the country that you are located in. So this is everything for this topic. And if you have questions, you can contact me. Here is my email address. And I hope you continue enjoying the course. Thank you.